For the White Rose Philosophical Study Group, I'm Mark Freeman. This is video number 10 in this series, wherein we discuss spiritual and philosophical concepts that can be applied to everyday life or any other worthy endeavor. For links to all our videos in this series, please see the list in the description below. As in our previous video, we will begin with a general compilation of questions and comments from some of our listeners. Quote, "You have said that we are here on earth because we gave up our divine birthright for the earthly world of sensuality. Isn't this just another version of the fall of man? Isn't it the sin of sensuality that removed Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden? It's slavery to sensual pleasures and all of man's sins that Jesus came to earth and was crucified to expunge, and yet you say this is something that we have to do ourselves. If we are slaves to sensuality, how can we possibly free ourselves?" Unquote. And from another listener, quote, "You imply that sensuality is unhealthy and must be given up. What kind of pleasure can there be in life without sensuality?" Unquote. Okay, the answer to both questions here is quite simple, yet difficult to implement and maybe difficult to understand. First, we never said sensuality is unhealthy. Sensuality is part of God's creation. All that God creates is good. As we have said, evil is merely the misuse of that which is good. There is nothing evil about sensuality. By this we mean all of the myriad human senses, as the term sensuality in its modern context is often equated primarily with human sexuality. But here again, there is nothing unhealthy in God's given means of human reproduction. Pleasure is not, in and of itself, unhealthy. Our souls entered into the experience of the physical senses in order to come to a knowledge of what is healthy and what is not, what is in harmony with our consciences and what is not, what amplifies God's creation and what destroys, and what illumines the higher worlds surrounding us, and what veils our senses from them. Sensuality only becomes unhealthy for two simple reasons. First, when it leads through excess to physical, mental, or emotional illness, and second, when one uses it to stifle the pangs of conscience, or to escape life's problems, duties, and responsibilities. When the conscience is stifled, then growth of the soul is stifled. If something isn't growing and developing, then it is decaying and declining. We are here to learn the laws of God and nature, and having learned them, apply them in creative efforts as co-workers with God. Keep in mind that when we exchanged our divine estate in order to experience the world of physical sensuality, we didn't leave ourselves bereft of purchasing power. If the divine can be exchanged for the sensual, then the sensual can be exchanged for the divine. In simple terms, your physical senses are the means by which you may open the door to the higher divine realms of being. You can experience heaven without having to die. In fact, this is exactly what we are trying to teach you in these lectures. Mainly, if you have no consciousness of God and heaven now, while in the flesh, you most certainly will not have any greater consciousness of God or heaven when your animal body is no more. So what are we saying here? The beauty of sensuality goes far beyond our most basic senses. It is through sensuality that we have a means of experiencing the physical world around us. It is also through sensuality, that we may become aware of higher realms of experience hitherto unknown to us. Think of a summer evening, somewhere in the country or the mountains. You are with friends or loved ones. A wood fire is burning, and a gentle breeze is caressing your cheek as you look into the night sky and marvel at the rose glow of the recently setting sun and the first bright stars that appear as though by magic from nowhere. If you have ever experienced this, then you know that at that moment something tugged at your heart. You felt as though you were just about to pass through a magic door that would take you to a world beyond anything you could imagine. In a moment of silence, you could almost see that world, and then the moment passed, and you were left with but a memory. This is sensuality. Think of when you were young enough to awake on Christmas morning, knowing with certainty that Santa Claus had visited during the night and that there would be presents under the tree. But even more important was a special warmth and magic about the house. You knew that Santa had been there because you felt the afterglow of his presence. This is sensuality. Think of Thanksgiving. Think of the joy of immediate and extended family gathering together in one place at one time. Think of the delightful aromas when you first enter the house, stepping from the cold, crisp November air into the warmth of home. Think of the love and indescribable pleasure of hugging loved ones not seen for some time, the delight in hearing their voices, observing their quirks, laughing at their jokes, and merely taking pleasure in their presence. This is sensuality. Think of a hike upon a path within a dark forest. Every moss-covered rock, every tree, every leaf, every brook and spring tell you something. Every plant speaks its name. Each one tells you that it's connected to every other one of its species. Every tree whispers that it is connected directly to a star in the heavens and that its spirit extends to the edges of the universe. As the wind dances with the trees, a silent symphony of motion creates a symphony within your imagination. And once again, you feel that there is a world just beyond a veil so thin that you can almost see it in the purple shadows of the forest depths. This is sensuality. Think of the first snow of the season blanketing everything in a magical coating of white, hinting at a crystal world of light and indigo shadows where beings of unparalleled beauty dance and sing. This too is sensuality. Anything of beauty, be it animal, flower, art, music, literature, poetry, architecture, sculpture, scenic vista, or gentle rolling hills. This is sensuality. If you think that sensuality is not part of God's kingdom, then we suggest you read the Song of Songs in the Holy Bible. If it is new to you, you might be in for a surprise. So, to sum up, in order to return to our heavenly estate, we need not give up anything good. God denies us nothing that is healthy and enjoyable. Pleasure, in and of itself, is not unhealthy. The healthy food we consume should be palatable and enjoyable and eaten because it tastes good, not just because it's healthy. Healthy food that is not enjoyed will do you no good at all. You might as well not have bothered. The same is true with all good things in life. They should be enjoyable. To quote the Reverend Emerson Clymer, if you're not having fun, then you're not doing it right. So, If giving up the world of the senses is not the answer, then what do we bring as sacrifices to God? How do we awaken the light of God within? Now, we touched on this in our last video. We listed 10 human characteristics that need to be transformed in order for one's spiritual eyes to be open. The first characteristic, and perhaps the one that overshadows all others, is resentment. Resentment is a purely human emotion and does not exist in the animal kingdom. We highlight this one emotion because with it comes almost all the others: anger, jealousy, covetousness, a sense of entitlement. All these ride the coattails of resentment. If you resent anything, be it another person's success, how others are treating you, your employment, your financial status, your health or lack thereof, your spouse, your children, your parents, your place of residence, if you resent anything, then you are denying your divine heritage. Resentment is the worst of all emotions because it suggests that we do not deserve our lot in life, that some other person is responsible for whom and what we are, that divine justice is a sham and God is dead. Resentment makes slaves of men and beggars of kings. Even if you refuse to believe in God, resentment will sabotage anything you attempt to accomplish. If you find resentment is part of your lexicon of emotions, and we all have at one time or another, then it must be substituted immediately with the following: a positive affirmation in either words or thoughts that no matter what happens to you, no matter who you think is responsible for your present circumstances, you have the power to direct outside forces according to your own will. You must find the hidden blessing. This is how successful CEOs, world leaders, private businessmen, and yes, single mothers raising their children, this is how they think and react to challenges they face on a daily basis. You have to accept what is real, what is, and deal with it. Brooding over the cause or trying to undo what cannot be undone is nothing but a waste of time and energy. Take a good look at what you resent in your life and ask yourself, how can I turn this to my advantage? Learn to tack. No matter what direction the wind is blowing, a competent sailor can go where he wants by using the wind to his advantage. This is called tacking. No matter what forces are pushing you, if it's in the wrong direction, then look for an opportunity to turn things around. Make a plan. And this is most important, prepare so that you are ready to act at a moment's notice. Then, when the opportunity presents itself, and it will, you can take action and start heading in the direction you desire. Never, ever believe the old adage that opportunity knocks but once. This is one of the world's greatest lies. It comes from not being prepared. Opportunity is constantly knocking. So, be prepared for when it does and open the door. And have faith that your circumstances will change. In our past videos, it may have seemed that we have given little importance to faith. This could not be further from the truth. Faith and preparation are two sides of the same coin that will purchase success in your life. The dictionary defines faith as complete confidence in someone or something. It designates it as a noun. However, we aver that faith is a verb. Faith is acting, thinking, and feeling as though what you desire is already a reality. Just like you know that the day will follow night and that spring will follow winter. All things, no matter what they are, follow cycles. All things in this temporal world have a beginning, a period of existence, and an end. All things come into existence only to pass away. And be thankful that they do, because this is the key to recognizing the opportunity to change anything in your life that you resent. Resentment does nothing but waste your God-given energy and time. It's no different than flushing hard-earned money down the toilet. The next item on the list of things you must give up in exchange for something good is jealousy. Jealousy is simply another form of resentment. When you look at what another person has, be it wealth, possessions, talent, beauty, vocation, spouse, children, or any other thing that you wish you had but appear not to, and you are jealous of that person's apparent circumstances, you are denying your own divinity and the power of God. First, you have no way of knowing what another person's circumstances truly are. The state of one's inner and outer life is between that person and God alone. You might think you know, but in truth, no one else but the individual can know the state of his or her own conscience and their level of divine peace. When someone has something you think is good and desire it yourself, the first thing to do is rejoice in that person's success in acquiring good things. Why? Because it opens your heart to acquire good things for yourself. Jealousy slams that door shut and locks it, because by being jealous, you are denying your ability to acquire the same blessings. Remember the components of your divine soul. You have an infinite, divine light of God within you, manifesting as your conscience. You have a spirit of life. You have a body which, regardless of your current age or state of health, functions well enough for you to be listening to this lecture, which means you have the means to make changes. You have a mind which, coupled with your imagination and the necessary effort or work, can bring into manifestation anything you desire. The divine spark of God within you is like a treasure chest that is never empty. By recognizing, living in harmony with, and employing this divine light, you are rich beyond your wildest dreams. If you are feeling jealous, then you are ignoring this treasure. You are ignoring God. Our next item is covetousness. This is simply a different form of jealousy. This emotion suggests that the person feeling it believes that what someone else has can only be acquired by stealing it. This indicates a belief that resources are limited, and therefore there must be those who have and those who have not. However, what it truly shows is lack of imagination and an unwillingness to think outside of common convention. For example, 60 years ago we were told by the leading scientists of the time that by the year 2000, the world population would be so great that food would be rationed for everyone on the planet. Worldwide starvation would be a constant threat. Air pollution would be so great that masks would need to be worn everywhere. The seas would be so polluted that all sea life would go extinct, and all oil reserves on the planet would be used up. This was all based on the knowledge and technology of the 1960s. But we all know what the true result has been, simply because people with imagination, innovation, and a willingness to think outside of common convention have made it possible for 8 billion people to live on our planet in relative peace, comfort, and harmony. With God, the divine light within you, illuminating your imagination, all things are possible. In the final analysis, there are no limited resources. There are only limited imaginations. Next item up is anger. This is one of the most difficult of emotions to exchange for something constructive. It usually results from someone doing something or something happening that you don't want to happen. There is, of course, righteous anger, but even this comes from the animal nature rather than the divine. When something happens that we don't want, or someone does something contrary to our wishes, responding in anger only breeds anger. This brings us to the most fundamental law of both heaven and earth. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Or, in biblical terms, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Anger is merely the precursor to physical or emotional violence toward the object of your anger. Even if it doesn't escalate to that level, it is still harmful, primarily to you. This is why in Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 and 22, Jesus equates anger and contempt with murder, because anger and contempt are the seeds of murder. Anger implies non-acceptance of divine law. Remember what we have been teaching you. You can develop the ability to turn all things to your advantage. Also, everything that happens to you is for a reason. Whether you accept it or not, you are reaping what you have sown. This may not seem to be true in all circumstances, but we will go into a more thorough explanation of this in a future video. So, how do you deal with anger when it surfaces? The very first step is to pause and think. The first step is to pause and think. Try to understand what has happened or what is happening, and then calmly determine the cause, if you can. It is essential that you learn the technique of calming yourself, for when angry, it is impossible to think clearly. If a person does something that angers you, try to see things from his or her point of view. To quote Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, "If we could read the secret history of our enemies, we should find in each man's life sorrow and suffering enough to disarm all hostility." If the person's actions are justified, then you have no reason to be angry. If they are not justified, and there is nothing you can do about it, there's still no reason to be angry. It simply wastes your energy. Next up, lust for lust's sake. There is perhaps no better perspective on this subject than from Benjamin Franklin, who said, "Engage in sex for health or offspring, never to dullness, weakness, or the injury of your own or another's peace or reputation." Unquote. Naturally, restraint in this area of human activity varies in difficulty from person to person. However, the best substitute for unhealthy sexual desire is exercise. In our current society, provocative images and entertainment are everywhere, so this makes for even more difficulty. However, let your conscience be your guide, and try to see the beauty of human sexuality in and of itself, and not how it's being presented. Number 6 on our list is the desire to dominate others. Here, clarification is required. We are not talking about chain of command in the military, corporations, private business, or family unit. Nor are we talking about enforcing an agreement when one party fails to abide by it. Neither are we referring to necessary law enforcement. Healthy competition between rivals is also excluded. Rather, we are specifically targeting the human desire to dominate one's fellow human beings for profit or to one's advantage, merely because one has the power to do so. This unhealthy desire wears many different disguises. One of these is attempting to humiliate someone to make yourself feel powerful or important. Another is bullying one weaker than you that you might feel strong. Another mask of this most evil of desires is making fun of someone who is either less intelligent, less well-formed, or less talented than you are. As we said in our last video, this desire must be replaced with a desire for justice and equanimity and action to achieve this in all your affairs with all individuals. Number 7, the all too common thinking that there are chores or jobs which are beneath your dignity must be exchanged for a willingness to do what must be done when it must be done, especially if there is no one else capable of doing it. Many people avoid doing this because they feel that they will set a precedent for others to take advantage of them. If you are capable of doing something that truly needs to be done for either personal or common benefit, and others are incapable of doing so, then you are obligated under divine and natural law to perform the task no matter what it is. To avoid being taken advantage of, it is also your duty to see to it that those who are capable of performing the same task share the work with you. Number 8, thinking that you are somehow superior to any other human being must be exchanged with the certain knowledge that every normal human being is a vessel for the divine light and is therefore potentially a God on earth. All of us have, at one time or another, thought ourselves superior to one or more of our fellow sojourners here on earth. This is nothing but ego. No matter how intelligent you are, no matter how healthy, no matter how strong, no matter how rich, no matter how talented, no matter how skilled, or no matter how spiritually advanced you think you are, there will always be someone smarter, healthier, stronger, richer, more talented, more skilled, and more spiritually advanced than you are. There is not a single person on this planet who is not highly skilled in one area and deficient in another. For instance, take a brain surgeon who has never played a musical instrument before in his life, and set him in front of a grand piano and ask him to play a concerto, and he will look like an absolute idiot in the attempt. In one way or another, this is true for every single person on this planet. Know your strengths, your abilities and skills. Know your weaknesses, your deficiencies and inabilities. And also know that you are not superior or inferior to anyone else. Number 9, stubbornness must be exchanged for clear thinking, persistence, and a willingness to adapt one's thinking or acting when one discovers one is in error. There is a huge difference between stubbornness and persistence. Many times, the cause of stubbornness is due to one's fear that if he admits he is wrong, it creates the opportunity for others to take advantage of him. This may be true at times. However, it is far better to admit one's error than to blindly continue upon a certain course of action merely out of pride. Strength of purpose is the key factor here. If your purpose is clear, and you find that what you are doing is sabotaging your efforts, then you must be willing to adapt your methods regardless of what others may think or try to do. Strength of purpose trumps attempts by others to take advantage of you every time. Number 10, attempting to acquire something for nothing, something without fair compensation, or something by taking advantage of those weaker or less intelligent than you, must be exchanged with treating everyone, no matter who it is or what station in life they may occupy, treating everyone as you would want to be treated were you in their shoes. This, of course, is just another version of the Golden Rule. However, the Golden Rule is incomplete. Its converse is also true, as are the converses of all divine and natural laws. Not only treat others as you wish to be treated, but, if practicable, never allow anyone to treat you as you would never under any circumstances treat them. The one negative or destructive emotion we did not include in our list was fear. Hence its inclusion here. How does one substitute something for one of the most primal survival animal instincts? It is not easy. However, just as with anger, learning to calm yourself and think clearly is of prime importance. We offer the following affirmation for your consideration when fear infects your being. When I feel fear, I become completely calm. My thinking is clear and rational. When I feel fear, I am totally aware of my surroundings. I take my time. I do not act impulsively. When I feel fear, I am filled with a steady strength and singleness of purpose. Fear is not my enemy. Fear is my friend. So, where do all these negative emotions come from? And why do they silence the voice of God within you? Every single one of the emotions we have outlined, excepting resentment, which is, as we said, purely human, all of these emotions are merely perverted, natural animal instincts necessary for an animal's survival and future progeny. Fear gives the animal the strength to flee or fight for its survival. Anger gives the animal the impulse to defend its offspring, mate, or territory against unequal odds. One animal stealing from another is merely a battle for survival of the strongest or the smartest. The desire for sex with multiple mates and the desire to fight and dominate any male contesting that desire is merely nature's way of seeing to it that only the strongest are permitted to procreate. Remember, nature is about survival and procreation because, as we stated in our previous videos, animals are the sensual beings and the matrix through which experience, observation, and experimentation take place. We, as divine beings, entered into the animal world in order to experience all that is healthy and unhealthy. We deliberately separated ourselves from God in order to know God. For, as we have said, one cannot know anything without experiencing its opposite. But now that you know this, if you feel that you cannot hear God's voice within you, you now know why. You have allowed these natural animal instincts to supersede your divine conscience, the voice of God within. As we have said, nothing in God's creation is in and of itself evil or unhealthy. It is only the misuse of a thing or allowing the animal to supersede the divine that makes it unhealthy. Striking this proper balance between your animal nature and your divine is the great work, the magnum opus of every soul on earth, whether realized or not. Once this great work is begun, new worlds, hitherto unknown and unseen, begin to open their doors to your imagination, and you will find a life so filled with the divine light of your Creator that each and every day will begin to feel like Christmas, like the first day of summer vacation, or the first time you kissed your spouse. And we will speak more of this in our next video. Thank you for sharing your time with me, and always remember, life is a magnificent journey. Never stop learning.